السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. David Copperfield Chapter 6 Part 3. بعد ما باركس died, after Parkes had died, he was a good man, said Peggotty, with tears in her eyes. I shall miss him. I was able to help Peggotty with the arrangements for the funeral. Funeral يعني الجنازة يعني. Parkes was buried in Blunderstone churchyard. churchyard اللي هي القرافة يعني أو مجموعة المقابر مع بعض يعني. Close to my mother and little brother. I discovered that Parkes had saved quite a lot of money, which he left to Peggotty and Daniel. So I knew that Peggotty would not need to work in future. طبعا هنا باركس ساب لها فلوس يعني. On the day before the funeral, we all arranged to meet at the old boat. It was my last evening in Yarmouth, as I was returning to London the following day. When I arrived, I was surprised to see that Ham and Emily were not there. Peggotty was feeling more cheerful now, and Daniel was talking to her. Just then Ham came to the door. Master David, come outside a minute, would you? He asked. I stepped outside, and Ham shut the door carefully. It was raining heavily, and we stood on the lonely beach. I noticed how very pale Ham's face was. Ham, I cried. What's the matter, Master David? He sobbed wildly. I had never seen such a strong man cry like that before. It's Emily. I would have died for her. I love her with all my heart, but she's run away, and worse than that. How I wish God had saved her from this ruin. I shall never forget his desperate face turned towards me, and the pain in his honest eyes. You're educated, Master David, he continued. You know how to express yourself. Help me. How can I ever explain to him in there? He loves her even than I do. Okay. I saw the door open. طبعا اللي قال الكومنت اللي فات ده كان هام بيجوتي يعني، وكان بيقول قصده لديفيد. بيقول له you are educated Master David, you know how to express yourself, help me, how can I ever explain to him. him ده ضمير عائد على مين؟ على دانيال بيجوتي يعني. تمام. لانه هو متبني الولد والبنت دولت اللي هم هام بيجوتي وإيميلي بيجوتي. Okay. I saw the door open, and I tried to stop Ham speaking, but it was too late. Daniel Peggotty came out, and when he saw us, he seemed to realize immediately what we were talking about. The expression on his face changed a moment, and he pulled us both back inside. I found myself with a letter in my hand which Ham had given me. Read it, sir, said Daniel, his face pale and trembling, and his wild eyes. Read it slowly. And his eyes went wild. Read it slowly, please. The room was completely silent, and as I read aloud, Dear Ham, please forgive me for running away and leaving you. When you see this, I'll be far away. I shall never return to my dear home unless he marries me and brings me back as a lady. Oh, I am so sorry and so ashamed. I know this will break your heart, but believe me, I am not good enough for you. I am too wicked. Tell uncle I will always love him, even if he can never love me again. And I will always think of you, dear Ham, even if you hate me for what I have done. Forgive me and goodbye. Emily. Daniel did not move for a long time after I had finished reading. I took his hand, but he did not notice. Suddenly he appeared to wake up and said in a low voice, "Who is that man? I want to know his name." Ham looked quickly at me and I felt a shock run through my whole body. I fell onto a chair and could not speak. "Don't listen, Master David," Ham said, hesitating. "We don't blame you for it." Puggy put her arm round my neck, but I could not move. A gentleman's been here very often recently, continued Ham in a broken voice, and today people saw Emily driving off with him in his coach. "Tell me," cried Daniel wildly, "is his name Steerforth?" "It is," replied Ham just as wildly, "and I am sorry, Master David, but he is the wickedest man I have ever known." Okay, he is the wickedest man I have ever known. After a moment, Daniel spoke. He looked suddenly much older. "I wish I had drowned him when I had the chance." طبعا دانيال هنا بيتكلم على مين؟ على ستيرفورث، انه بيقول اتمنى لو كنت انا غرقته بايديا لو كان عندي الفرصة يعني. "But it's too late now. There's no peace for me here while my dear girl is away. I am going to look for her and bring her back home. Don't any of you try to stop me. Ham, you must stay here in Yarmouth. Keep a light always burning in the window of this house so that if the poor girl ever comes back she can find her way home across the sand. I am going to London and France and all over the world if necessary. I am prepared to spend my whole life traveling until I find her. If anything happens to me, if I don't come back, tell her I forgive her. Tell her my love for her is unchanged." And although we all tried hard to persuade him to stay, he refused to listen. He took his coat, hat, bag, and stick and stepped out into the darkness. We watched him walking along the London road until he disappeared from sight. I often thought of that lovely figure in the next few weeks and months, walking through strange streets of foreign cities looking for his adopted child. When I thought of him, I remembered his last words to us: "If anything happens to me, if I don't come back, tell her I forgive her. Tell her my love for her is unchanged. Tell her my love for her is unchanged." كده يكون شابتر 6 خلص. نبدأ في شابتر 7 إن شاء الله.